Hi there, I'm Irk, and this is my channel, Get Irked. Is the metaverse dead, or could Roblox be the real future for virtual reality? Roblox, with the ticker symbol RBLX, is the gaming platform that lets users both play games and develop their own games. In this video update, I'm going to develop a buying plan of how I would invest in Roblox if I didn't currently hold a position, and then I'll go over my own position, where it's come from since the last update, and where I plan to take it into the future. As always, if you want to learn more about Roblox, stick around to the end of this video and I'll link the previous video so you can see a deeper in-depth analysis of its fundamentals and technicals from when it went public in 2021. Roblox originally came public in March of 2021, and it wasn't until late 2021 where things really got exciting, as you can see from the movement in the stock. Roblox reached its high in October of 2021, and then just like the rest of the technology sector, 2022 hasn't been so hot for the stock. Roblox reached its all-time high here at $141.60, and then bottomed back in May down here at $21.65. Since its bottom, Roblox saw a pretty significant bounce, jumping up 148.87% from its bottom to its most recent high. However, since that high in August, Roblox has pulled back once more, dropping 41.13% to where it is currently. So if you're going to invest in this stock, you need to know that it's extraordinarily volatile. When it comes to developing a buying plan for an investment, I used Fibonacci Retracement to determine buying levels, and I focused primarily on the concepts of support and resistance. I had a commenter recently ask why I only use Fibonacci Retracement and why I don't go more complicated when it comes to my long-term investments. For me, it's always okay for an investor to trade or a trader to invest, but you need to know what you're doing with an asset before you start to buy it. Since I look at long-term investing with at least a 5-year time horizon, but for me, most of the time a 15 to 20-year time horizon, I'm looking at really long time frames. Additionally, the point of Get Irked is to teach people how to invest for the long term. So I want to give you strategies that you can use even if you have a full-time job. These strategies apply to the longer time frames. In fact, most of the time you won't even be looking at the daily time frame. You'll be looking at the weekly or monthly time frame to determine overall momentum for an investment. This way you don't need to worry about the intraday movements when it comes to which way a stock's going moment by moment during the trading day. The technical indicators that I use when I'm trading are completely different than the ones that I use when I'm investing. And I may actually end up creating videos in the future about how I do my trading. But when it comes to the videos that you see on the channel right now, this is about long-term investing. This way, if you have a full-time job, you can put your orders in advance. You can work on them either after work, during the weekdays, or on the weekends. You don't need to worry so much about the intraday volatility of a stock. That being said, to create a buying plan in Roblox, what I would do is to draw a Fibonacci retracement from its low in May to its high in August to develop levels of support, where Roblox might be able to find a level where it will stop on its retreat so that you could add to your position at that point. As you can see, Roblox has already pulled back beyond the key 50% retracement. In fact, it's pulled back below the 61.8% retracement, where it's found support here at this day at $31.08. So if I was going to start my position, I'd probably start around there, or maybe even $31.25 as my first buy. Because of the amount of volatility that we've seen in the stock market and the amount of volatility we've specifically seen in Roblox, I wouldn't start with my 50% allocation. Instead, I'd start with a 25% allocation and then save that remaining 75% to buy in stages on the way down in 10% increments. For my next buy, I would look at the 78.6% retracement, and if you look in the past, you can see that it's found support right around it. And I might actually use a higher point, maybe around here at $28.96 or even $29.05 as my next buy. After that, we are out of retracement levels, but that's no problem because we can go back in the past and find additional support, like at this day here at $26.31, which might be my next buy. Following that, we've got the low of this day here, down at $23.88 as my next buy, followed by $21.65, Roblox's all-time low from May. This would give us a 65% allocation in Roblox, and it might sound strange that even at its all-time low, we still would have 35% cash to put to work. However, I never trust a bottom. There's no reason to believe that a bottom will hold going into the future. In order to find additional levels in Roblox where we might be able to add to our position, we have to pull out on the chart, and you can see that we have an additional retracement line down here at $12.88. However, since there's such a large gap between $21.65 and $12.88, what I would do here is to divide those two levels by half and create a new buying level where we could add to the position. That would give us a buy target of $17.27. And after that, I would use the $12.88 as my next buy, which would give us an 85% allocation. From here, we pull out even further in Roblox, and you can see that we have an additional buy target down here at $1.73. And once again, that's too low, so I would take the difference between those two levels and create a new buy target. That would give us a buy target of $7.31. And at this point, we would have a 95% allocation, but I'd still save that 5% cash on the sideline just in case something horrific happened to Roblox and we really saw it sell off. If Roblox never got that low and we ended up having cash allocated to the position that we never put to work, I'd actually take that cash and put it to a different position sometime in the future. I would not buy up my cost basis in Roblox. In other words, what I have is what I'd have, and I'd let the market go from there without adding to a position and then increasing my per share cost. From here, let's take a look at my own position in Roblox and where it's come from since my last video update. My last video was on October 8th of 2021, and at that point, my position was at $75.20 a share, and shortly after the video, Roblox really took off. My initial plan was to wait to take profits until Roblox had more than doubled from my cost basis, which meant it would need to break $150. But when Roblox hit a high here at $141.60, I decided that I was being too greedy and that I should take some off the table if it retested that high. Roblox ended up coming close on November 30th of 2021, where I took profits at $136, and this lowered my per share cost 20.21% down to $60 a share. And it was a good thing that I took profits there, because as you can see, Roblox really collapsed as it went through 2022, following Russia's invasion into Ukraine, as well as a number of other macroeconomic concerns that were facing the entire stock market. In January, I made 3 separate buys, with my first on January 21st being higher than my cost basis, with a buy at $70. On January 24th, I made another buy at $60.80, and then on January 28th, I made another buy at $54.80. The combined buys did raise my per share cost from where it was at $60 to $60.80, but that was just a 1.33% increase. And from this point, Roblox ended up bouncing until we got to May, when the entire market sold off and new stocks and tech stocks like Roblox got hit the hardest. As you can see, throughout February, March, and into April and May, I made buys all the way down, with my last buy on May 9th at $26.23. And this demonstrates the power of buying in stages. These combined buys lowered my per share cost 24.18% from $60.80, where it was in January, all the way down to $46.10 a share. And after Roblox bottomed in May, it ended up going much higher from there. It ended up bouncing over 150% from its low in May. On August 2nd of 2022, I ended up taking profits at $46.90. And to the uninitiated, it might be strange that I took profits so close to my cost basis, which was at $46.10, especially since that sale only lowered my per share cost 0.11% down to $46.05. But here's the trick. In just 3 months, I had 75.56% in gains on the shares I bought in May. One of my key rules is that when I see gains accumulate that quickly, I have to take some off the table. Even if it doesn't reduce my per share cost that much, I have to lock in those profits. And although Roblox ended up heading a little higher from there, it turns out it was a good move for me to take those profits when I did, because Roblox ended up selling off again again. So my current position right now is at $46.05 a share, which represents a 40.19% reduction from where I initially opened the position in 2021. From here, my next buy target is above a key level of support at $28.20, and my next sell target is just below its high from August at $52.80, where I'll take more profits if Roblox decides to retest that high. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.